You could just drive the meeting. I'll help take notes.
Oh, thank you. And I don't know how that works. Okay, no, it's not red. I think it's different here. Okay, meeting agenda. I'm gonna repost here. And it's now we are live, it's recording. Welcome. This is the first Sigtore infra meeting. I don't know yet if this is gonna be a long-term working group or just a temporary one. But for now, we gonna start meeting every other Tuesday at this time, which is 5:30 Central European time and 3:30 UTC. I think Ken is adding the other time zones as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
For the first meeting, let's have a quick roundtable here and introduction ourselves. My name is Carlos. I work for Guard, and I'm trying to help here in the Sigtore in the infra part. You're gonna go next, Kenny?
I'm Kenny. I've been working on the Helm charts a lot and some of the scaffolding stuff and helping with the GA effort for Sigtore in the whole. And I also work for Guard.
Your turn, Arnold.
Hey, my name is Arno. I'm based in France. I'm the SIG chair of SIG Gates Infrastructure, also one of the release manager associates. So happy to talk to the folks involved in that effort. Happy to also give some help if needed.
Cool, thank you. For the record, you are the SIG chair for the Kubernetes SIG infra, not for Sigtore.
Yeah, for the Kubernetes project.
Yeah, and cool. Let's go to the agenda. The first topic is we started the infra meetings, and the first topic is the GitHub automation. Today, Luke, Dan, and Bob, and other persons that have admin powers, they manually add people in the work and manage the projects and like create repositories, but looks like other persons also can, like, I think everybody which is part of the org can create repositories, which is not that good. But we don't know like who have permissions to what and what are the teams and if the teams are like added correctly in each repository. And then the idea here is, and also we are running out of GitHub seats for users. This is something that Luke and Dan is like talking with GitHub to see if we can get like some extra seats as being open source project, or if we need to pay, we have some budget allocated then to start paying more seats for that. To have like a better audit and easier management for users and repositories and repository settings, we decided to have like some automations. And like some discussion happened in the past, we got some feedback like might use the same GitHub like the same automation that we have in Kubernetes. But I was looking closely and working in an extract that project to a smaller project, but that doesn't have all the things we need in Sigtore. And we decided to use the one tool that I wrote in the past and was using in other organizations as well, and was working like pretty fine, which is based on Pulumi tool. And we wrote like a document to outline the idea from like how we're gonna create the teams and who gonna be part of the team. Let me quickly share my screen. And of course, if you have any questions, please just interrupt me and ask. I'm gonna share. Okay. The idea is use Pulumi, and in the doc have the Git repository with the project attached, and that we're gonna describe our users, our teams, and our repositories also in a YAML file. And we, for example, when we add users, we can add the user, we can define which role the user have and which team they are belong to. We also can create teams, like basic teams, and then we can add users to the teams, and then later on we can add teams to the repositories. In the repository, we can, like, the good part of this, if someone from the community requests a new repository, we can just add the APR, open APR, and add in the new entry for the repository, and that's going to be created bootstrap from scratch. For existing one, we're going to import all the data and then manage. The good part here, we can manage almost all the configurations that we need, including all the checks from Allstar and from the OSFF All-Star configurations that we have like enable in our repository, in our org, excuse me. And with this, we can configure all the information for the branch, also which teams belong to, and also add some like the branch protection as well, and then enable all the possible checks we want. The idea using Pulumi is to okay. Also, I requested a Pulumi Cloud account. They have an open source project, like option that if you are open source, you can request the cloud account for free and use, and that have a nice integration with GitHub. That means we can, when someone open a PR to make changes in the GitHub automation, we can like see the differences in a comment in the PR, and then we're gonna be easily see what gonna add or remove or just up to date. I'm waiting for the response from Pulumi to see for the account. I follow up with them last weekend at KubeCon, and they said to me they're gonna take a look on this week. I'm gonna wait till tomorrow and then do like a follow up with them again. Any questions so far? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just saw the question from Kenny about which tool we want to do to manage, basically. Do we want to use two tools to have GitHub management and infrastructure management, or do we just have one tool, which means we might need to have an early conversation by migrate the Terraform code to Pulumi at some point?
This, I don't have any like strong opinions. Like maybe we can convert everything from Terraform to Pulumi. I'm not sure if we want that.
So I will add
but maybe it's can be a good idea. I'm not sure.
Because our other question is basically the team responsible for managing Sigtore infrastructure want to move that management to this working group.
Well, I think what I've been gathering is that it's like all the Aqua management across the board. It's just been a mess. It's been very organic and ad hoc. So if we could just centralize it, I don't think the TAC has a strong opinion about which way we go.
Okay.
Even the Terraform approach we are trying to use for staging and production, it hasn't been fully deployed yet. And this is where I'm coming from, where it's like, well, since it hasn't been in place yet, we could also move it to Pulumi just so we have one central place rather than you having to like jump around to see where the permissions are handled. Like I'm not particularly familiar with Pulumi, so I don't know how well it could manage the permissions on the GCP side of things or other providers that we decide to branch out. This is just something like just I was wondering out loud in a sense.
Yeah, as far as I know, Pulumi support GCP like strongly support. They have all the features. I think even they have like a conversion like from Terraform to Pulumi, but maybe we need to like if we decide to use this for the infrastructure as well, we might write some code and then gonna decide in which language. Like for the GitHub is I written in Go, but Pulumi supports other languages as well that we might like take a look at later in the future. Like the option to use this, I used this in the past in other organizations, and I decided to use that because it was like all the persons in the company knows how to write Go, and it was easier instead of using Terraform that not everybody knows, and it was like a kind of like struggling for other persons that doesn't know Terraform and need to manage or maintain the system. Using Go was more flexible because everybody knows how to code. And the if you take a look on the code is like very simple and straightforward and clear. Like if you compare this to Terraform. But maybe we can decide later if you're gonna use Pulumi as well for the infrastructure. The good part is we're gonna get the account and then we're gonna have all the integrations for free for us as well.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's like it's just more of yeah. I don't want it to be a blocker. I just want to make sure that it's something that
Yep.
we we can think about.
Maybe we can mature a little bit more, and then if we decide to use Pulumi for the infrastructure, we can plan and start moving stuff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Continue. The idea, like now, when we do the import of the existing GitHub teams, users, and repository, we're gonna like first we're gonna do some auditing as well to see if like everybody are in the correct places and if everybody have the right team and if they have the correct permissions in the repositories and also if all the repository settings are like correct. And for that, like we're proposing like also to rename the existing teams and create new teams. The idea is for each repository, you're gonna have two teams. One, for example, let's take cosign an example. Gonna be cosign dash code owners and cosign dash reviewers. That means like everybody who is the owners of the cosign is gonna be the code owners, and everybody that is going to the ladder and like accept to maintain the project and for the process we have, and we also working to improve the process, gonna be like added to reviewers and then like eventually become a code owners as well. But then the idea we're gonna have like two teams, and the code owners gonna have the right access, like that means they can merge things and change things in there, like create tags and do other stuff. And the reviewers gonna be like a triage role, which that means they can like approve PRs, they can change and change labels and do all the reviewing part as well. That sounds good. And that's it. The idea here is as soon we got the Pulumi account, I'm gonna start the importing like all the data and then like send the data to the like the main owners like Luke or maybe to the TAC like group, Luke, Dan, and Bob, them take a look as well in the data to see if it makes sense, if they want to change things. And then we're gonna open a PR to add those things in the Sigstore/community repository. And we have Eduardo. Eduardo is helping me as well. He's working on the GitHub actions for the Pulumi and integration. That means every time we open a PR, we're gonna run an action to validate the YAML and validate if Pulumi is happy. And when we merge the change, we're gonna be applied. And he's working on that. And I think this week or no longer than next week, we're gonna start migrating and making the changes. I guess that's it. Let me put the order. Any questions?
So I think I briefly mentioned it, and I think someone else might have also asked, like, how do we figure out, like, how do someone get promoted to be a reviewer, or how do they get into different groups? Like, how do they, like, at what point are they considered code owner or a reviewer?
Yeah, that is, let me see if okay. There is this open PR that I need to get back that as well. Let me post here. That adds some initial membership documentation and explain the process. And this is mostly like was extracted from the Kubernetes itself. But we are like adapting that to the Sigstore community, because in Kubernetes they have more steps and more things. For us, it's more a lightweight. But then the idea is to have similar process. But I need to get back to this PR and update and get some the feedback I got from persons.
And
but the idea, yeah, but in general, the idea is like you contribute to the project, and I think like sometimes is not that like very like, let's say, it's more like a feeling, right? You contribute to a project, you open an issue asking to become like part of the organization. Most of the time, like the TAC, like they accept it, and then you become the maintainer. And in the past, I think like Luke and Dan was adding persons, like sometimes with the write permissions and sometimes with the read permissions. Like, and then the idea is like they become reviewers and then become like code owners like later in the near future, or depends of the what the person wants to, if they want to become a code owner as well. But the idea is to have this ladder at least like more explicit, and people become like, you become part of the org, you become like a reviewer, and then you become a maintainer, code owner, let's say, in this in this wording. Does that answer your question, Kenny?
Yeah. A follow-up to that is, how do we handle new repos? So, like, is that outlined as well? Because like I think like we are still at a point where we're adding repos every so often, and it's like having the same process for approvers and owners and code owners. It's slightly different for that as well.
Yeah, I think like if you need a new repository, as soon we have the automation, we just open a PR asking to create the new repository. Then the automation gonna create the repository and add the teams appropriately. Like maybe we need to have like in as the follow up on the PR as well, adding like a process like how and when request a new repository, and how and when request a transfer, right? Because you might have your project and you want to donate that project to Sigstore, for example.
And I guess sorry, I just have a lot of questions. So like I think another key part is, how do people lose their reviewer or code owner? Because I think like it's so easy to get grandfathered in, and it's like they stop contributing, but no one bothered. We don't have a process to remove people, and then they get bitter, and it's like it causes drama.
Yeah, this is something that we need to figure out, and is not part of this initial PR. Maybe we can add something, but this we maybe need some discussion, and to see like maybe we can create like say if people doesn't contribute in like by code or attending meetings or like this is kind of hard. But if they doesn't, let's say if don't contribute, if we go managing by like contributions by code or issues or anything in GitHub, we can say if it doesn't have any contribution in 6 months, we can like demote or something like that. Go ahead, Arnold.
So just want to add what you say is demote someone is extremely difficult because you want to base that decision. You want to basically make that decision based on the number of contribution or commit from that person. You need to have a period of time you want to basically use to define that, which is extremely difficult because you might have someone disappear for 6 months and come back after 6 months and say, okay, I'm contribution. And over the year, you realize, oh, maybe that person needs to be demoted. So just want to say about my Kubernetes experience is this is a case-by-case decision.
Yeah.
We basically wait an entire year until we collect data because CNCF provide data and some kind of tooling to collect and analyze that information and make that decision. Trying to automate that is extremely difficult to make.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with what you said. It's like I don't want like yeah, we need to give a lot of people the leeway of like we need to review at least a year worth of data before we kick in one out, or possibly even more. And just because there's always exceptions, there's emergencies, and I just want to make sure that we do have some sort of a guideline, just so when like if this does come up and people are like raising like, well, what have this been, or like the list been getting too long and whatnot. But yeah, I'm not trying to actively curate this list, especially removal. It's just more of like I'm just worried about drama, just because it's a very sensitive type of thing, and I just want something listed as a guideline, not something automated in a sense.
Yeah, and also there is other things like that we need to take care as well, because if the person is part of the org or maintaining a repository like a project, but the person is not maintaining like using code, like doing other things, because it's not everything is code, right? It's like answering questions, doing
Slack,
issues,
just like Twitter promotion. It's like you can be so very active without actively being in GitHub. So
and then this is more like hard to figure out, like if people are doing that. But I agree, like we need to have some guidelines and that. But I think this is gonna be like a broader discussions with the TAC's group as well. Any other questions?
No.
Otherwise, we are running out of time because we have another meeting later.
Yeah, it's like thank you for your work, because it's always nice. Getting it kicked off is always the hard part, and thank you for taking a stab at it.
Thank you for joining and helping me. Okay.
See you, folks.
See you. Thanks for everything, and see you in 2 weeks.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.